We are back. Your host, Barry Waxler, here with the always lovely and talented Andrea K. Always incredible urban memoirist. And we have one of our, what I'll consider one of our leaders in town here, somebody that's doing things that other people don't want to do. Okay, so welcome Jose Cruz from the San Diego Council on Literacy.
Thank you, Barry.
Great. So tell us a little bit about the council. What is it that you do?
Council on Literacy unites the community to support literacy. We represent a network of 29 youth, adult, and family literacy programs that serve the San Diego region. Combined, they serve 171,000 residents a year, residents of all ages, and at no cost. We're responding to, well, we would call just a serious problem, not just in our nation, not just in our community, but in the nation, where 20% of the adult population is at the lowest level of literacy. We're talking a 0 to 4th grade reading level, wow. And that has an impact on a lot of things.
Has an impact on everything.
Yes, it does.
20%, that's a huge number. How do we, in, the greatest nation ever in the history of the world, end up with 20% of the adult population illiterate?
There
are
a number of things going on. 80 years ago, you were considered literate if you could sign your name. We're in the age of information and technology. So the definition of literacy is really based upon the demands that society puts upon the individual.
Okay.
So if you went back 80 years ago, we were in the age of agriculture and industry,
right.
And so you didn't need that much literacy, but now you need more. And so when people say, well, where's the point where you can read and not read, it really depends upon what are your needs to meet, what are the skills that you need to meet your personal and professional needs.
Wow.
Years ago they used to say that books, like I remember Reader's Digest, said if you submitted an article, it has to be the 7th grade reading level. Is that still the same, or is it increased?
Well, the newspaper is written on the average of an 8th grade level, and the more that you can, I don't want to say simplify things. Let me tell you a story. I mean, and some of you might remember this, but back in 1988, Surgeon General Coop sent AIDS information to every household in the U.S. That literature was written at an 8th grade level. With a little bit more work, we could have reached about 40 million more people.
Wow.
And so readability becomes an issue. And before we get too far into the discussion, 70 to 75% of the adults in the U.S. who need help with reading, who are at that 0 to 4th grade reading level, they are English speaking. They have gone to school here. So sometimes, people will say, well, it's the immigrant impact. And part of it is, but mostly it's not.
Interesting. So if there was one thing that we and the general public could do to help serve the literacy for those in need, what could we do?
Well, it still takes a village, right?
Right.
And when we look at our work, we don't fool ourselves. We know that there are other issues out there that people are dealing with. There's food, clothing, shelter, mental illness, depression. And you have people in various communities who are victims of abuse. There's so many other things going on. So we want to partner with everybody so that we can help them through literacy with their work, and then they can help us overcome those obstacles to learning. We're looking for volunteers. We also know that part of the problem where we're winning and losing the battle is in the home. We need more books for children. About half the homes in San Diego County, you're going to see books everywhere for kids, and the other half, no books. Maybe 2 TVs. And maybe mom and dad can help with reading or writing, or maybe they can't. They don't have the skills, or they don't know, or the time to do the things that we'd like to see parents doing with their children.
We have 29 programs. That's a lot of programs. Can you tell us what those look like and how they help people?
Oh, sure. We have 7 of those programs are library-based. And so in San Diego County, we have 8 library systems, and 7 of those systems actually have an adult literacy program. So that's pretty good when you have your county library and your city library providing literacy services, as well as the other library systems. You have adult basic education institutions, classroom-based English as a second language classes. You have a number of nonprofit organizations that have started up and just kind of popped up out of various places. We have one program called Traveling Stories, and what they do is they set up a tent in the farmers market in City Heights, and they read to kids, or they have children read to them. and it really does bring the services to the community so that you're not having to deal with some of those transportation and child care issues.
Right.
So you have a whole variety. A couple of the YMCAs are very involved in providing services. St. Vincent de Paul Village, and then some organizations that are fully voluntary. It's a really good mix, and just a credit to these programs that they work together under the identity of the San Diego Council on Literacy, even though they have their own identity and their own funding sources.
Interesting. So tell me, how are you funded?
We have a number of special events that we do. We have a few foundations, very loyal and supportive foundations who understand our work, because the Council on Literacy is not a direct service provider. We're the coalition. And so we have to communicate what we do in a whole other way, that people understand the value of coordinating services countywide, as well as arranging service providers and coordinating service provision in smaller parts of San Diego County, so that we're seeing some impact in places where there's really a history of low student success and the adult population not rating at a level where they can do the things that we want them to do, where parents have the skills that they need to be good parents and workers and involved in the community.
Interesting.
Well, it must be a real challenge especially today with the young kids, so many diagnosed with various types of learning disabilities alone. Forget those that have other types of disabilities.
Well, 16% of the population in general has some kind of learning disability, so it doesn't matter about the social economics. But you brought up, you actually reminded me of a point I need to make. We talk about the zip code lottery, and it's really still a shame that in our country we're going to be able to tell you who's going to succeed, who's going to fail in school based upon zip code.
Absolutely.
And so we have to fix that. As I say in my presentations, is there something wrong with the kids who live south of the I-8? And we know that there isn't. They just are in a family situation where there's cycles of illiteracy, cycles of dependency, dysfunction, and really just not the resources that we need, that we have when we see families that do read.
Interesting. I'm trying to think of how we can bring some of our resources together to help those that you help.
Well, one of our metrics is more volunteers, more volunteer hours, and more books for children. And people are always leery to say, I have these books, I want to give them to you. Can you use them? And we will find a home for every one of these books, children's books, that are, we like to say, gently loved. And those are two places where, with increased volunteerism and more books, we know that we can do more. And then we have our events that we love to talk about and are really proud of, that help us attract new audiences to our cause.
Okay. Would you do me a favor? Send me a link as to where we can get a large block of children's books to you. I will tell you, we have, my kids are 15 and 17, so they're beyond the need of having the books, and I'm too lazy to clean out the bookcase, so we still have them. We haven't given them away yet. I'd be happy to give those to you. And probably even go through our neighborhood. I'm sure there's a lot more in our neighborhood.
We'll take them. We're at www.literacysandiego.org. So just have to remember the literacysandiego.org. And I'm sorry you have to spell out the San Diego, but you do. And you have to spell literacy, which for some folks is a little bit
hopefully more and more people will be able to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
You're listening to Close Up on San Diego Business here on KCBQ, streaming live at AM1170theanswer.com. Give us a tweet at CloseUpSD. Email me at barry@closeupsandiego.com, or find our page on Facebook. Want to hear from you? I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here with Andrea K., Urban Miaris, and Jose Cruz from the San Diego Council on Literacy. What
would the volunteers be doing? You say you keep repeating you need volunteers. Describe what type of work they would be doing.
They're primarily volunteers are reading to children, they're tutoring children, and they're tutoring adults. And then, of course, literacy programs can use the volunteers in the office. And then we have our events, which I'd like to talk just briefly about Eat, Drink, Read.
Great.
And that's our culinary event for literacy. It's not taking place till May 18th, 2016, but it has become our signature event. It's San Diego's best chefs creating dishes inspired by their favorite books. And we're getting help in the form of a Eat, Drink, Read culinary book being put together by Jolie Pink, and we're doing a Kickstarter launch next month to help raise money to produce the book, to attract more people to the event, and to raise their awareness about the state of literacy in San Diego County.
Well, I got a confession to make. I am totally illiterate. I cannot text for anything. I had to get my granddaughter to read that to me. So it's today it's so important to be able to read.
So what happened since you left Long Beach? Because you were texting me from Long Beach.
I couldn't spell Long Beach, so they kicked me out. Yeah.
How do you guys stay on top of the needs in terms of literacy as they've changed over the years?
The main thing, and it's an ongoing challenge. Because there will be listeners right now who say, golly, I didn't know the problem was that bad. Well, I've been doing this work for 30 years, and I'm still hearing that. And so 30 years ago, there wasn't the awareness we have today. There weren't 29 literacy programs. There weren't 170,000 residents being served. So in those ways, we've made progress. And at the same time, we want to see lasting changes. And we want to engage with more of the community to make changes that break these cycles of illiteracy. So in some ways, awareness is much more widespread, and at the same time, I wake up every morning and treat it like it's day one, because you just can't assume that people know.
Business owners out there would be surprised how many of their employees really are functionally illiterate.
Absolutely.
I've had employees come to me, and they say the resume and HR, and they bring them to me, and I get them on the computer, and you really find out the hard way.
Well, what's interesting is back in the old days, okay, back when I was a kid looking for a job, you had to go out and you had to fill out an application everywhere you went. Today, most of the applications are filled out online, so who knows who's actually filling the applications out for people?
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It could be somebody else. Well, but then even back in the day when there were paper applications, they could still take it home and have somebody else fill it out. There were ways that people have gotten around this, but it's harder to get around it now, isn't it?
It's I would say it's not any different that when you recognize early on that you're among those who won't read real well or is not reading real well, you get really good at getting around situations. Our one of the challenges that we have is that it's hard to serve people who don't want to be found.
Right.
And so you have an invisible population out there, and all we can do is promote the services and hope that people will call us.
And tell people
I'm curious about one thing.
Yeah.
Okay, you've been doing this for 30 years. Okay, that was a career choice when you were a young man.
It wasn't. I'm trying to think. Who in this network of literacy professionals that I've worked with over that period of time actually said, I'm going to go work for a literacy program. It just kind of happened to me and to a lot of us. And it's a great place to be because you're helping people function in this society, and in some cases you're watching dreams come true.
Yeah.
Do you have any great stories of somebody that was illiterate and you guys helped them and they were able to go on and achieve personal and professional success?
Go to our website. We have a documentary. It's 13 minutes of 13 testimonials from local students, but every one of our students has a story. Ask them what school was like, why they asked for help, and how their lives changed after they got that help. I think of Denise O'Neill, who she's in the documentary, and golly, we should have her and other people, if you have that time for us, and I know that you do, talk about what they do. But Denise, she's reading at a second, third grade level. She says, I want to be a human resources person. That's her job today. Wow. And so she achieved her dream, and she had to start.
Well, I'm going to make an offer to you. Okay, I do this every week with somebody, and I don't often get anybody that takes advantage of it, but I think you probably will. I had a meeting yesterday with Richard Hollis from a company called Hollowness. And I absolutely love what they do because it's all about social media and, all the websites, postings, everything, connecting the dots, making it much easier to spread the word via every source of media you can imagine with one keystroke. Okay? Love it. What we need to do is we need to get the Council for Literacy, get your information out. So if you'll permit me, what I'll do is I will introduce you to the folks down there at Hollowness. I will almost, let's put it this way, if they don't allow you to do the program, on their nickel, I'll put it on my nickel to do it. And let's get the word out, and let's find all the people that don't need literacy to help those that do need the help with literacy.
Boy, thank you. I love it. And absolutely, I'm all for that. Our essence is collaboration, and we're resourceful, and we're into the new thing that they call collective impact. It's about all of us coming together and doing things new and differently and in a way that's impactful.
Well, I love it.
Do you get a lot of people who say, that I'm fine and I'm really not functioning? Is there a test or something that someone could take to determine what level reading they have, as an example?
There are a lot of them, and so every person who comes into a literacy program goes through an assessment, and so we do look at their reading ability, their writing samples, etc.
Great. Well, we're starting to run short on time. Sure. Tell our listeners how they find out more about the council.
You can find us literacysandiego.org or 888-850-7323.
Will there also be information there about the Kickstarter? How will people find that?
We're just starting that part off, but if you want to know more about Eat, Drink, Read, it's eatdrinkread.com, and we'll start putting together the information for the Kickstarter. Thank you for that. And in fact, I'll work with our webmaster, and we'll put that information up there because it's getting close.
Great.
Yay.
Well, we put out info, press releases every week on all the great events going on. My hat is off to you. You do a fabulous job in our community. Our community wouldn't be what it is without people like you. So thank you. Get the information to us. Let us keep posting it up on a weekly basis and see what we can all do together.
Thank you very much for having us.
Great. Thank you. You've been listening to. This is Close Up on San Diego Business here on KCBQ, streaming live at AM1170theanswer.com. Send us a tweet at Close Up SD, or just find our page on Facebook. You can always email me at barry@closeupsandiego.com. Let me know what you think. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.